Yo, what's up, guys? This is Dave with Dynasty Dorks. We're a year-round fantasy football podcast, and we do Dynasty and redraft content. Thanks for the follow. Good luck this season. What's going on, everybody? I hope you had a wonderful week one, and I hope that you were able to win some money and, most importantly, have some fun and learn playing NFT Draft, playing some fantasy football, NFTDraft.io, the future of fantasy sports. It was a ton of fun this weekend. I had a lot of fun on the live stream, a lot of fun seeing how things, turned out. We learned a lot week one. And I want to talk about that. So today is going to be my weekly episode of Stacks, Streams, and Spreads. But I want to talk a little bit about week one. And first rule of thumb, do not overreact. Don't go selling all of your Justin Fields cards or go selling all of your Josh Allen cards. Relax. It'll be all right. The players that did not perform last week, of course, it's concerning, but you do not want to take 1 week and make a decision that's going to, that you're going to be disappointed in for the rest of the season. It's a long season, and week one, it always has its surprises, whether they're good or bad. And we just have to, kind of see what it tells us for week two. Sometimes someone just had a bad matchup or had a bad game. A lot of players didn't play in preseason. Maybe there was some rust. And there's a lot of things that happen week one that you're going to see throughout the season and go, yep, I saw it week one. It continued. I'm glad I made that early decision to go and, pick up the, this player or buy this card. But don't overreact in either direction. Just, make sure you're taking note of some things that happened. And there is a great website called Yards Per Fantasy that I want to show you guys and give you a tool that will be an advantage for you over your competition. So let's pull that up real quick. My guy, Alex, he put together a fantastic article. It is yardsperfantasy.com. Look for his fantasy notebook. Also, go to Underdog Fantasy. They got promo code YardsPer. There also is a promo code for Dynasty Dorks. Put in all caps Dynasty Dorks, and you get a free $10 when you with your first deposit. So snap share. We talked about this, about terminology. Snap share is extremely important when you're looking at the running back position. When a running back is on the field for over 50% of the snaps, that is a good thing. When he's on the field for over 80% of the snaps, that is a great thing. So Ezekiel Elliott had a very down week, but he was still on the field for 84% of the snaps. So Tony Pollard, the RB2 for Dallas card, it's still a good card, but let's not forget that Ezekiel Elliott is still the king of the backfield. Ronald Jones, he was benched for, fumbling. Leonard Fournette finished with 65% of the snap share. That's a concern. I would definitely be hesitant about playing either of those running backs right now because you have only a few running back spots you can use. Antonio Brown played on 65% of the snaps. Godwin and Evans were over 90%. Don't panic on Mike Evans. It'll come. He's very tight end, touchdown dependent, but it'll come. But Antonio Brown was 65% of the snaps as the third receiver. That's very exciting. And it's a very good value when you can play the wide receiver 3 card for Tampa and get wide receiver 1 return. The Cowboys tight end snaps, Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz. There's a lot of things in there to look at. I would still kind of stay away from them right now just because there's better plays. But it's something to look at. The Cardinals backfield, 58% of Chase Edmonds. We talked about it being more of a 50-50 timeshare. It's almost 60-40, well, 60-50. With them being on the field about 10% of the time or 9% of the time together. Huge. Mike Davis saw 75% snap share. That is huge. Zach Moss, healthy scratch. Devin Singletary was on the field a lot, so that's huge for him. Joe Mixon. Huge 75% snap share. Denver backfield was 50-50. Melvin Gordon had a huge breakaway run. They both were bottled up. The Giants is a really tough matchup. So when you're running against the Giants, it's not necessarily a great thing for your between the tackles running backs. But Javonte and Melvin Gordon are really going to eat into each other with that backfield being split. So I'm really staying away from the Denver RB1 card if I can, just because he's not getting as much workload, and his upside, the amount of ceiling that he has, is capped by Javonte Williams. And I think there's better plays. And a really good play is DeAndre Swift. We got some news before the show last week, before the game started last week. He was going to be limited. That was not the case. 68%, almost 70%. That is huge. This one, Mark Ingram, that's a landmine. Okay, what I mean by that is it's a trap. You guys are looking at that, seeing he had all these runs and he had so many carries. Mark Ingram is going to be the goal line guy. Is also going to be the one that kind of grind it out when they're up in a positive game script for them. Houston is not going to be up in a lot of games. They happen to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are somehow worse than they are. There's a small chance that, yes, it could happen, but I'm gonna bet that the Houston Texans are not leading the entire game pretty much for the rest of the season, except for the game they play against Jacksonville when they play them again. One thing I am concerned about, Jaguars. The RB1 card last year was super valuable because James Robinson was getting 95 to 100% of the snap share. This year it's down to 64, and Carlos Hyde was on the field way too often. Even when they were supposed to be passing down and catching up James Robinson's money time, it was down. The RB2 for San Diego is Larry Roundtree. So we thought it was going to be Justin Jackson the whole time. They always told us it was going to be Justin Jackson. It's Larry Roundtree, so keep an eye on him if you have that San Diego RB2 card. Darrell Henderson, 94% of the snaps. Do not run away from Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson and Najee Harris and Ezekiel Elliott are my bounce-back candidates this week. I think they all will have huge weeks. So Myles Gaskin, I get 54% of the time share, not as high as Darrell Henderson, but still pretty high. I expect Henderson to go down a little bit as Michelle gets worked into the offense, but it's going to stay up there in the 70s. And Gaskin, you want him to get a little bit more towards the 70s, but 54 is still pretty healthy. Jets backfield's a mess. Stay away. Najee Harris, 100% of snaps. Again, that's why he's a bounce-back candidate. Elijah Mitchell, 64% of the snaps over JaMychal Hasty, 29. Trey Sermon will be worked in this week. I'm interested. I'm keeping an eye on that one. I'm not going to just throw Elijah Mitchell out there and expect him to have a huge week this week. He was playing the Detroit Lions last week. He does not have a soft matchup this week like he did last week. So temper expectations. You can still play him as your second running back card if you want, and he's the RB1 for 49ers, but still be cautious. It's not going to be the same script. AJ Green, that's interesting. I really didn't get that. I think he needs to play less and Rondale Moore needs to play more. Rondale Moore is your Arizona wide receiver 4 card right now. And number 3 is Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore both had better weeks than AJ Green, playing far less snaps. The Bills have a clear top 3 as far as receivers, and it's Diggs, Sanders, Beasley. It means Gabriel Davis is out. So when you're looking at it, Beasley's the guy that I want to own other than Diggs. I'm not really as in on Sanders, but they're all in for 90% of the snaps, Diggs, Sanders, Beasley. So those are 3 guys, 3 cards that you can play very confidently because they're in for 90% of the time. Jamar Chase, 90% of the snaps, huge debut. This is what's going on with Cleveland. When you have the OBJ out, who filled in? Donovan Peoples-Jones was really the guy that filled in the most. And then you had Rashad Higgins, and then you had Anthony Schwartz. There's so much on here. I don't want to go through the entire thing, but we'll talk about this more. There's target share. This is how many of there's 30 throws. How much percentage went to each player? You want to see guys have more than 20% target share for your confident plays. Cooper and Lamb. You see huge target shares. Godwin, huge target share. This is concerning. 0 targets for Austin Eckler. I think that'll change, but that is interesting. Terrace Marshall, I told you to play this card. It didn't really produce a lot of points, but the targets were there. How many times he was targeted? 6. He only caught 3 catches. One of them was a red zone target. If he catches that red zone target in the end zone, that would have been huge. It would have changed his completely changed his week. He is a buy low candidate. So if you can get the Terrace Marshall, the Carolina wide receiver 3 card, I am all over that. Deebo Samuel had a monster week. Don't expect that every week. It was the Lions, and Brandon Ayuk had nothing. So if Brandon Ayuk takes a little bit off that plate, and you see some regression, you can see him go back to normal. I still like Deebo. He is the clear number 1 receiver for San Francisco, but don't expect a huge game like that, like from him again. And then Ayuk, the wide receiver 2, expect more. Chase Edmonds, a lot of targets. That was great to see. Mike Davis, again, a lot of targets. Great to see. It's just hard. His upside's really capped by that offensive line being so bad. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines he's gonna be part of that offense. So I'm sorry, guys. It's gonna be part of that offense. Miles Sanders, I really was impressed with him this weekend. I've been someone that's been down on Sanders. He looked really good, and he got a lot of play. But I do like the running back 2 card, which is Kenny Gainwell for Philadelphia. 24% of target share for DJ Chark. He looked fantastic. Cooper Kupp looked fantastic. This is a stack that I love. The Los Angeles, Stafford, QB1, and Cooper Kupp, the QB2, or the wide receiver 2. There's more things on here. Just so much. Air yards. Why is this important? Well, if you got a guy that catches a ball for 5 yards, it's 1.5 points. If he catches a ball for 50 yards, that's 15 points. I mean, you're not looking at 6 points. Okay. So the further away from the field, the further away from the quarterback that they are, and they're catching these targets, the targets have they have more value because it's a 6-point target versus a half point or a 1-point target. So you see these guys that get 132, 144, 149 yards of air yards. These are also a lot of the guys that were your top performers of the week. Tyreek Hill, Darren Waller, DJ Chark, CeeDee Lamb. All these guys were top performers. Air yards is a huge indicator of success. So when you're looking at this every single week, you want to see these guys that have consistently have top air yards, because every single one of their targets is just worth more because you're getting chunk plays. You're getting, a 50-yard catch, a 20-yard catch, a 30-yard catch versus these dink and dunk guys that really need to have 15 catches to give you a good week, when these guys can, like some of these guys can only get, it only takes 3 or 4 catches for them to have a good week when they're getting 150 plus air yards. All right, I know that was a lot, but I wanted to recap because there's a lot to learn. And again, shout out to Yards Per Fantasy. That is a great tool. Some of my favorite guys to follow, and make sure you give them a follow. All right, so let's talk about the spreads. So again, when you're looking for your stacks, the first thing I do is I look for my spreads. You got Washington and New York tonight. New York blue. 40.5 is the spread. That is one of the lower, if not the lowest, spread on the docket. That means there's going to be a low scoring game, which means less fantasy points. Saints versus Panthers. I'm going to go and say this one actually is a game that I think is going to go over. I think they score more points than this. I think the Panthers, the Panthers being down, the Saints at Panthers +3. So the Saints are favored in this game. Do we think the Panthers cover all of those, those 20 points that they're expected to receive? I don't know. But if the Panthers can put up 25 points or 20 points and the Saints put up 30 to 35 points, you're going to see it over 40. And you could see a good fantasy production out of this. You got Alvin Kamara, you got DJ Moore, you got Robbie Anderson. So you got all 3 of the receiver cards are in play for Carolina. The Carolina quarterback, I would sit this week. I know that sounds ridiculous to start the 3 receivers and to bench the quarterback. I'm just worried because the quarterback may not be able to put up as high numbers as he did last week, going from the Jets to the Saints. You saw what the Saints did to Aaron Rodgers, which will also limit the upside of those Panthers cards. They're in play, but I'm not as high on them as I was last week. The Saints, I think this is a bounce back week for the wide receiver 1. I'm going to call a bounce back for Marquez Callaway, the wide receiver 1 for the Saints. And then you got Jameis Winston, who is one of the high performers of the week. Going against a soft defense, I think you can play Jameis as a streamer, and we'll go through that as well. But I'm confident in putting the Saints wide receiver 1 in my lineup. That is Marquez Callaway. Bengals and Bears, 45. It's in the middle as far as the spreads. There's some matchups in there. I think Allen Robinson bounces back. I think you can play him this week, even though you didn't last week. Or I hope you didn't. I told you not to. But the Cincinnati Bengals, they have guys you can play. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are the wide receiver 1 and 2. But they also have the wide receiver 3, which is Tyler Boyd. I'm okay with all 3 of those, and I'm okay with the quarterback, even though it's the Bears. I'm okay with all of them. I'm just little tempering expectations. The only real play for the Bears is if you stream the tight end or if you play David Montgomery. David Montgomery is a lock, but I'm not really and Allen Robinson's a lock. So I would play the Bengals quarterback, running back, wide receiver 1, as well as the wide receiver 2 and 3. The Bears, I'm playing the quarterback 1. I'm not the quarterback. I'm not playing the quarterback 1 for the Bears. I'm playing the quarterback. I'm playing the running back 1 and the wide receiver 1. And that's it. Texans, Browns, 12.5-point dogs. The Texans, again, they're not going to do what they did last week. It's going to be a tough sledding. Do not play the RB1 card for the Texans. It's not going to be a good thing. The Browns defense is something I would go after. We'll talk about it later as far as my streams, going after them. As far as the Texans, I'm not playing anybody. Maybe the wide receiver 1, that's it. The Browns, I'm playing everybody. I'm playing the wide receiver 1. I'm playing the running back 1. I'm playing the running back 2, the quarterback 1. I'm playing the tight end 1 this week. I think the Browns are someone that you want a lot of pieces of, and I'm all over it. The Rams and Colts, I like all pieces in this game. I like the quarterback, the running back, and both receivers for the Rams, and I like the tight end as one of my streams. The Colts, I like both running backs, the RB1 card and the RB2 card, and I would play the wide receiver 2 card for the Colts, not the 1. And as far as defenses go, I'm not playing any of those defenses. Maybe the kickers, but not the defenses. The kicker for the Colts I'd play. Broncos and Jaguars, I'm all over the Broncos defense this week. That is going to be a smash play. That is my lock. Jaguars, you can play the receivers there, and you can play the quarterback, but I'm staying away from the running backs right now. Broncos, I'm staying away from the running backs if I can, and I am not very interested. The wide receiver 2 most likely is going to be Tim Patrick, if not KJ Hamler. You're probably playing a tight end there. I really like the tight end this week. Noah Fant. Bills and Dolphins. I like this play for a bounce back for the Bills. I think the Bills bounce back. You're going to be able to play the QB1, wide receiver 1 for the Bills this week and have a good week. You could also play the wide receiver 3 card, which is Cole Beasley. And you're going to have a good week. That is one of my value plays, is the wide receiver 3 for the Bills. Dolphins, the tight end really disappointed last week. You could see a bounce back. Remember, New England takes one of your best players away. They took Gesicki out of it completely. But I'm still holding and waiting because I think there's better options. But you can still play Tua. You can play Myles Gaskin, the RB1, QB1, and you can play the wide receiver 2 for the Dolphins. Patriots, Jets. This one is another low-scoring game. Damian Harris, the New England RB1, is a good play, but I would rather play the number 2, which is James White. He's a lesser-valued card, and you're going to get just as good production because he gets those points per reception. And remember, we talked about on the live stream, a target, which is a receiving target where the quarterback throws the ball to the running back, is worth 2.5 times the carry when he hands the ball to him based on fantasy production. You can play the Patriots defense in this one all over the place. The Jets offense lost their left tackle. So the blind side of the quarterbacks are usually right-handed. The blind side is protected by the left tackle. They lost their left tackle for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So you want to play against them pretty much for the next 6 to 8 weeks. They also, the sacks came running in, and the quarterback was under a lot of pressure when he went down. For the Patriots, I think you can stream the quarterback this week against a really soft secondary. The guys covering the receivers are the secondary, and I think you can play those. So New England, I think you're okay playing the defense there. I think you're okay playing the quarterback there, and I would play the tight end 2 and the running back 2. The Jets, I would play the wide receiver 1, and that's it. 49ers and Eagles. 49ers RB1 is now Elijah Mitchell. I think you can play him. Eli Mitchell is a solid play. You got the Eagles. The Eagles are QB1, RB1, wide receiver 1. All looked good last week. Their tight end 1 looked really good this week. It's gonna be a good matchup, and I think there's gonna be a lot of points. You can play the wide receiver 1 for the 49ers and the tight end 1 as well. Raiders and Steelers, guys, go get the Pittsburgh RB1 card. 100% of snaps last week. Everyone's going to be selling that and just like forgetting about how good Najee Harris is. I'm all about Najee Harris. I think he has a huge bounce back week, and I does it against the Raiders, who let up a lot of points to running back position last week. They let up two touchdowns and over 150 yards to the Ravens running backs. The Raiders, I'll play their kicker, and I will play their running back 1. But I will put that with a caveat. You need to pay attention because they said that Josh Jacobs was questionable, not practicing, and they said the reason was everything. Everything hurts. His ankles, his calves, everything was just banged up. So keep an eye. It could be Kenyon Drake, and that's where you would, obviously if he's out, you play the 2 card, or you can play the Pittsburgh, the Raiders RB2 or RB1. You have Vikings and Cardinals. You want to play a lot of pieces in this game. I'm going to go with the wide receiver 2 and 1 for both teams. I'm going to go – actually, the Cardinals, I'm playing the 3 or the 4. I'm not playing the 2. You can go with both running backs, the RB1s, both quarterbacks, QB1s, no defenses. Falcons, you really have a lot. It's really hard to play the Falcons right now against a tough defense like this. I really would stay away from the Falcons in this matchup. I feel like there's better plays. It's just tough. They couldn't do it against the Eagles. They're really going to have a tough time against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers, you can play pretty much everybody at the receiver position. Running backs, I'm staying away from. And you have to ride it with Gronk. He killed it last week. So tight end 1 for Tampa Bay, I'm playing. QB1, I'm playing. That's one of my favorite stacks this week is Gronk and Brady. All right. That was a lot. So remember, when you look at your point spreads, what you're looking for, are these going to be high volume point games? Or are these going to be low volume point games? All right. So let's talk about my stacks. And I want to tell you guys who I think you should be targeting as far as your stacks. And the reason you want to stack is because you're doubling up your money, which gives you a good chance when one guy scores, the other guy scores, of increasing your position in the leaderboard. Premium stacks are going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. It's easy every single week. You got Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes or Kelsey. It's a lock. You got Dallas Cowboys. You can go Dak and both receivers, or just play the wide receiver 1 or 2. I'm going to go with the wide receiver 2 every single time. And then you have Buffalo Bills. I'm going to play this stack, and this is going to be my favorite 2 stacks of the week. Are going to be QB1 for the Green Bay Packers, QB1 for the Buffalo Bills, bouncing back with their wide receiver one, Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams. Those two stacks right there are the premium ones that I'm going to target this week because you're going to get your bang for the buck. You got Josh Allen has got the Miami Dolphins, and you got you're going to have Green Bay Packers against the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. It's going to be a bloodbath. They're going to kill the Lions. Value stacks, I like the San Diego QB1 with the wide receiver 2. You can go with the 1. I like that, but I think you can get a lot of value going with the 2. Value, Baltimore QB1, tight end 1. Las Vegas Raiders QB1, tight end 1. If you want another value piece of the Las Vegas Raiders, wide receiver 2. Bryan Edwards had a great finish, and expect to see him continue that. So my streams for the week, New Orleans, Denver, and New England. I think you can go and get the QB1s and stream them this week. They're more, your QB2 spot where you want to get something that makes your lineup a little bit different, and guys that aren't really, everyone expects them to be in the top 10, but they could be in the top 10. Tight ends, LA Chargers, which is San Diego, TE1, New Orleans, TE2. Jacksonville, TE1 is a very deep sleeper if you have that card. But Seattle, TE1, and Chicago, TE1 are my streams of the week from tight end position. I'm going to go with some defenses. Cleveland, Green Bay, New England, New Orleans, Arizona. Play them all. Play them all. And then your kickers, Los Angeles, so San Diego Chargers, Minnesota, Tennessee, Cincinnati. Check out my TikTok page, and you'll see a cool video of the Cincinnati Bengals kicker. He gives a very new twist to the bottle cap challenge. So give us a follow, NFTDraft.io on YouTube. Give me a follow, Dynasty Dorks Fantasy Football on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, and I hope you have a great week.